It did it.
This upsets me so much.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine. Here we are. Lord of mercy.
Okay.
Whatever. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Oh, welcome to Books We Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And we're vertical today.
Again.
Even though we told it we're horizontal. Oh, well. This is our second week reading of The Woods by Harlan Coban. And we're doing great. So, we're super pumped that you're here with us. So, if you are joining us live, please participate in the live chat. And if you're catching us on the replay, join us in the comment section. We want to hear what you're thinking. We want to hear what your guesses are. I have no guesses. This is just, there's too much going on. It's too wild. This book just has everything in all the weird ways. If you ever want to just hear us and not see us, we're on YouTube Music as a podcast. Sometimes we're on Goodreads, and that's all I've got.
Yep.
So what are y'all thinking about the book so far? We read the whole thing Monday. The whole section,
Yep.
the whole reading Monday. And so I had to just now go back through like the first 30 seconds and the last 30 seconds of every chapter to remember like what it is that we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. So,
honestly, I'm ready to move on.
To another book?
Yep.
You're over it?
Yep.
Well,
it's fine, whatever. Like, a lot happened, but nothing happened. Like, and nothing's going to happen until the end, and then you're like, oh, okay. And,
yeah, we had a lot of, like, development. So, we learned that Lucy and her creepy TA have the wrong author. Atlas is just below the screen trying to play with her little ball. So if the screen moves, it's Atlas. Oh, Allison read it all. Yeah, so they got the wrong author
Go lay down.
to the journal entries. And is that on purpose? Did Lionel mess up on purpose?
Yeah, that guy's a creep.
And also, why do we care more about Lucy's personal story than the state of this poor girl who got raped by her father?
Yeah.
We can shut the door.
I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing seems like real selfish. I do kind of feel... What's the name? Lonnie?
Lionel?
I don't think it's Lionel.
Lionel?
I think it's Lonnie.
Lonnie?
Or whatever. Lucas. It doesn't matter. I am 100% over him. He's a weird creep, and I want him to be the killer. Just because I don't like him.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, yeah, how did he get it wrong? So the thing came from the campus email in the library or whatever. She was the only person in the class. I guess anybody could submit something, you know, like anybody. There's no evidence that you have to, like, log into the class to submit something. You just, like, send something to an anonymous email, you know? But so if you're going to send something by anonymous email and you're some random dude from the past, why would you do it from the library? Right? Like, why would you not do it from, like, your home computer?
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know? So I'm also just very skeptical about the realisticness of Lonnie being able to figure out any of this in actual life. He can't track an email.
He's such a turd.
Yeah.
And I got distracted by the chat. What I was going to say. Oh, so, you know, he said, like, oh, well, I'll go talk to Sylvia or whatever her name is. And he never went and talked to her. So what was he doing? And also, no, ew.
Wait, what?
He said he was going to go talk to the girl.
Yeah, he never did. And we never addressed that. Like, we never addressed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just gross.
Can we talk about how everybody in this book is gross and that's what turns me off? Everybody in this book is gross.
Yeah, so Lucy and Paul are now friends again, and it's immediately weird and gross.
Both of them are gross.
It's like gross sexual tension that shouldn't be there. Y'all are totally different people now.
Well, yeah, Lucy hasn't seen him in like 20 years, and what she was like, why don't you start like when we used to mess around? Remember that line?
Yeah.
Like when they hop in the car or something? That's stupid. Nobody ever says that. Nobody says that. No women say that. Dudes might. Lucy doesn't.
It was so weird.
And I think it's perfectly acceptable to judge her for that line. And the whole thing where she was like, I had a friend help me figure out like where the lighting was that was good and all this stuff. This had either be some gigantic sexual mystery where Paul Copeland is the killer. Otherwise, all of this is unjustifiable.
He's got some weird sexual hang-ups.
Everything, I want to say that everything to him is about sex, but I think everything to everybody in this book is about sex.
Seems to be.
Which, like, fine, whatever. I could buy that. I just think it's more subtle in real life.
In real life, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's all very, I wouldn't say it's sexually assaulty, but it's all very harassment-y.
It's really cringy.
Yeah.
The blackmail thing keeps randomly popping up to move the story along. Yeah, that's weird. Peggy has a hard time believing that this is all about the court thing. Also, I died at the name of the porn that they were all watching. I died. And every time they mention it, I just giggle. It's so funny. Muse is my favorite character so far. She's the only reasonable person with her reasonable shoes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Muse is a relatively good character. She does have... There's like another weird sexual scene with her and Paul, but it might be Paul's fault. I can't remember.
Yeah, he like starts it and she like snaps back or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember. But I guess she's the best one. And like what I want is for her to start investigating this and then have to like arrest Paul. Like that's where I want this to go. But
yeah.
I see, and I do think it's still about the court case somehow. And what I think is going to happen, I have this theory now that we know about like these two frat boys role playing their like the things that they've seen in porn. I think what we're going to find out is that the killer was role playing something he's seen. Like I still need these things to tie together, right? And the fact that it's just like all about sex is not enough. Like I think I want there to be a point to the sex. There's got to be a point. And so I want... we still have this thing about Paul having blood on his hands. And I know that was in like the first journal, and Lucy's like, that's not quite how it happened or whatever.
Right.
But like, what does that mean? And how did it happen? Was it not blood? Like, what's the deal here, you know?
Yeah, what part of the diary was not true? That's what we don't know. So...
And like, they only just figured out after... What was it? It was only after they talked to Gil Perez's mother that they figured out that Manuela Santiago is... They're both after this person, right? Like, they had never actually talked about all of the evidence that they have. They've never had that conversation. Yes.
Paul, yeah.
Lucy Paul never had that conversation because she knows Manola had been to see her father. Obviously, Paul knows about him. And it wasn't until they went to Gil Perez's mom's house that they actually, like, bothered to share the rest of their information.
Right. Well, I mean, they've been reunited for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, they've been busy talking about some other stuff.
It's stupid.
They should be talking about their evidence.
This section, this section also had... a lot of weird music references, like, and that just kind of like came out of nowhere. I don't know if I understand.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here.
The question.
Yeah,
Paul is first person. Lucy is not. The story is told from Paul's point of view, so that brings up a narrator issue. We're limited to what Paul's willing to tell us.
Yeah. I think, I think, like, that's kind of where I'm going with this, right? Like, Paul knows, because, like, why is Paul so wrapped up about this? Or, like, who is popping, we still don't know who's popping up and sending this email. We don't know, like, why they care. We do know now, like, I feel like the only thing we really learned is that Gil Perez's parents really know that Gil was alive.
Right.
So.
Oh, yeah, and you brought up that recent murder case about the girl and the guy that went like road tripping together, and
Yeah,
he,
Gabby,
I don't
whatever.
remember, yeah,
Yeah,
but he had killed her, and then his parents knew he was alive, and then but he was missing,
yeah,
and all that. That rang true.
yeah. I, I guess part of me doesn't like this book because it's too close to my life. You know what I mean? And like I see all these like real possibilities happening. You know, this idea that somebody role plays the thing they've seen is not outlandish. That absolutely happens. You know, the idea that I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. Can we talk about Lucy's dad for a second?
Yeah,
That line we were looking
Ira.
for.
Yeah, so when Ira and Lucy were talking, he was freaking out because he does remember Gil coming to see him, and he doesn't want to go back to that place. And he said something to the effect of he couldn't save them all.
He couldn't save them all.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So that's something.
Yeah.
And
So he knows
what
things.
incarnation are we talking?
I'm not sure that's. I'm not sure what's going on. Just stop reading the chat. We can talk.
Yeah. So Ira definitely like knows something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced that Paul's brother-in-law isn't the one that was doing the blackmail to try to get him to be quiet to save Jane's charity so that he didn't get discovered for embezzling money out of the charity.
Maybe, so I don't know. I kind of feel like the court case thing is like wrapped up now, right? Like they figured it out.
Yeah.
They rolled in, Shelby or somebody mentioned it earlier. Somebody rolled in the wheelie cart with the TV on it, and
Squeaky wheel.
yeah, and like we're done here. So like who cares? Who cares if the brother goes to jail? Right? Like me as a reader, why do I care if he's embezzling money? We still, I don't know.
Well, we see all of this guilt. We're supposed to care more about Paul than we do, I think. This is told from his point of view. He feels guilty that he let his sister die, come into danger and die. He feels guilty that he left his wife when she died because he was stressed out about, all that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has his lawyer career where he's really determined to defend people like himself that don't have wealthy, well-off support behind him.
Right.
So we have that angle.
Yeah.
We have Jane Care, which is his way of atoning for, he loves his wife and he lost his wife, but also that guilt of not being there to fully take care of his wife. He did like skip out on her the last few days when it got really hard, which I don't blame him. That's a very hard situation. He didn't leave her because he was like trying to be mean. He was falling apart, but he feels guilt over that. And so now he has Jane Care. Well, now his own brother-in-law and sister-in-law were embezzling money out of it.
Right.
I was taken out of the book at the trust thing when the sister-in-law was like, well, this is going to ruin me. And he's like, well, didn't you have money? Didn't your family have money? She's like, yeah, but it's in trust. Okay, girl, ask for the money. Typically, when it's in trust like that, you can say, okay, I need my money for my well-being and education or whatever, and get your pool money.
Look, true story. We're driving back to the house on Monday. We're listening to this on a long road trip, and I'm triggered by like all these sexual things and talking about like all that. And then Nicole really does start yelling about this part.
We had to pause the book because I was yelling.
She was really frustrated by the fact that this lady didn't know how to use her trust. So
you ask the trustee. But you don't steal money from a charity.
yeah, they borrowed it. They didn't steal it. They borrowed it.
That's stealing.
Yeah, okay. So while we're talking about this part, right? This brings us talking to like all these like weird sort of like satellite characters brings me back around to the part where Paul talks to Gil Perez's father in the bar, threatens his whole family, and then it's just like, no, actually though, I'm gonna do this. Right? He calls up calls up his sidekick and he's like, dig up everything on all of them. We're going after them.
And then
What is that?
when Gil's dad's like, I'm coming after yours. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then like in his narration, he's like, I'm not a bully and I don't like using my power to get what I want. Whatever.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I'm not a bully and I don't like abusing my power every time you're a bully and you abuse your power. This guy is nuts.
We recently, so like 2 nights ago, we rewatched Secret Window from years and years ago. And, you know, in Secret Window, you see the main character just like slowly fall. It's not even slowly. He's like doing okay. He's kind of falling apart. And then he's like, and he's off the deep end and the movie's over. And I feel like maybe that's what's going on here because Shelby says the bar scene was horrible, and it was like it was bizarre and weird. And for somebody who like cares about the rule of law, right? Because we get these two scenes kind of in juxtaposition. We have, we have Paul talking to his sister-in-law about how he's not going to protect his brother-in-law. He's not going to like bend the rules a little bit to try to say it was a loan or whatever. And then he decides to use the power of his office to abuse a grieving father. And I think we're supposed to think that this is horrible, right? Like, I think we're supposed to be like, our main character is a hot mess. If we end up at the end of this and Paul is not the killer and like he's our hero, he's a terrible hero, right? Like, he's not the thing that I want him to be. And so Shelby says this, Paul is consistently contradictory, and that is true. Mm-hmm. You know, in the very beginning, he says he hates puns. He's the only character ever who makes puns in this book.
You brought that up on the way home.
Yes. I mean, so like, she's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're supposed to find out, right? He is the law and order, but he's also the killer. He's all these different things. And I don't know. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I am also not convinced that Paul's sister is dead.
Yeah, me neither.
If Gil's been alive, why wouldn't she also still be alive?
Yeah.
And what's his head? Wayne Steubens is saying, which I mean, we can't believe a serial killer, but he's saying like, why would I kill my friends?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like,
yeah,
I want to believe him
yeah.
on that part. And he has, trophies of all of his other kills, but not these.
Yeah. I want Paul to be the killer because I also don't like Paul. But we have this memory from Lucy's point of view, we think, where they're together in the woods, right? And like that's why she feels guilty. And there's this whole story about Paul lying to the police about her being there so they wouldn't find out, and he tells us that he feels guilt. They would not have died if he had been doing his job instead of hooking up with Lucy in the woods. So like, where does all that fit in, right? Like, why how does that work out? Part of me wonders if this is not like a switcheroo sort of situation just because of the court case, right? Like, there's no literal evidence for this, but like, what if Paul gets somebody else to go out with Lucy in the woods in the middle of the night in the dark, and like, she's not hooking up with Paul, she's hooking up with somebody else. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Even Kara, is that his daughter? She's only 6. There's no reason that she should be acting.
She's incredibly hostile and like not okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she needs to be in some counseling.
And this brings me back around to the mom. So somebody says, like, is the sister alive? Well, like, maybe. And for all we know, the sister's running around with the mom somewhere. And maybe that's why the mom leaves, is because she's protecting the sister. That's entirely possible. But, well, like, why is that element of the story still in here? Why does the mother leave? Is it... And part of me wants to think, again, based on this court case situation, that Paul sees his father abusing his mother and he starts abusing his sister, or there's something going on here where Paul is the villain, and it has to do with this sort of acting out with the things that you see.
Yeah. So I guess we'll find his mom in this last third of the book. Huh. Dune Paul's sister is also named Kara? Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't know that she ever had a name. In the first book, at least, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And then why are the Perez parents lying? Like, what are they afraid of? What are they protecting? Why does Gil Perez come out of hiding now?
Right.
Right, like what? And I think it's Lucy who asked this. Like, what is the trigger? Like, why now?
Right.
What is the thing that has happened? So
Yeah. Why now?
personality wise, the sass.
Oh. Yeah. Why did Gil's mom take down all the pictures of Gil?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, I think at that point she was trying to hide him, right? Like she's hiding the evidence that he's or Paul makes a note that like if there's no pictures, then we can't tell what arm the scar is on, and she didn't expect for him to go and like have his own picture of Gil.
Gotcha.
So, Peggy, I'm interested in your theory. Type it
Yeah,
out.
tell us. Tell us. What? Okay, so we're waiting on the DNA results to come back on Gil. What if Gil's not Gil?
I guess that's possible, but it seems highly unlikely at this point. Why are his parents grieving now?
Right.
If
And
that's
who
not
cleaned
him?
out Gil's house?
Yeah.
And are we done seeing Gil's girlfriend? Because that was all weird.
Yeah.
If they admit Gil was alive, then they'd have to give back the $800,000. They need it to take care of the brother with
Interesting.
CP.
Yeah. I suppose it's possible. But then this takes me so okay, let's talk about the money, right? So the families that lose children sue Ira and take everything he's worth, right? And if Ira really says this line about I saved the ones I could, does that mean that he saved Gil and the sister, right? Are they alive because of Ira? And if they are alive because of Ira, why didn't he tell anyone when those families were suing him?
Right.
Like, what's the deal
Maybe
there?
he had him like hidden in a bunker or something.
And does any of this have to do with the KGB?
Right.
Because like
Because that's in there too. Uncle KGB is out there doing his KGB thing. Paul. Not on the phone.
Yes, Paul. No, I don't know, man. I just want to know. Like, I'm ready to know.
Well, we'll be done in about
We'll be done.
an hour of solid listening. Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot going on here. But the case should be wrapped up. We shouldn't be seeing any more of Cologne attorney or flamboyantly dressed attorney.
Can we talk about how his name is like Ric Flair, right? Like, it just it's so on the nose, and I like him. Like I really like of all the characters in this book, I like him. He's being dirty. I don't know. I know a lot of defense attorneys, and defense attorneys generally want to help people, but sometimes like you get the guy who did it, and like you just got to do your best because that's your job. And I understand that. At the same time, this is dirty, and so I don't like him for that reason. But like, I like his style, right? I like his.
Well, Ric Flair is the
Flair is the
Flair's
gay
the
attorney.
flamboyant
Yeah.
one. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Who's the one with all the cologne? That's her attorney. And then
No, yeah. That's Shamika's attorney.
And then who's Paul? Why is he in here?
He's the district attorney.
I don't understand. Ooh, I don't understand.
Go lay down.
This wasn't her
Go lay down.
fault. It
Go
was
lay
just
down,
an
please.
accident.
Go lay down. Go lay down.
Oh, she looks so hurt. Poor puppy. She's spunky today.
See, Allison likes Ric Flair too. That's great.
I like his wardrobe.
I kind of like his like. I like the bad cop, good cop thing that the defense attorneys do, where like there's the dense one who just objects to absolutely everything. So, yeah, Paul's the prosecutor, right? So Paul's the one who's trying to convict.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, we're actually possibly looking at a thriller for the next one.
I've got two books that I'm really like bouncing between.
Like if we're gonna have like this meta conversation about a book at this point, this book has got to floor me in this last third.
Did this one have good reviews?
Yeah, I picked it because it was one of the better Harlan Coban reviewed books. But I'm going to put it to our second to worst if this last section doesn't wow me.
Well, I think maybe we're learning a lesson to not pick any book that is like more than 10 years old.
I don't necessarily think that's it. The sex stuff has got to pay off for me. It's got to pay off. It's too much. And like, if you just want to be like, well, people were just like it was cool. And if you're telling me that people in 2007 or whatever didn't think that this amount of sex was weird, I beg to differ. Right? Like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's
This
everywhere.
is weird. Yeah. This is weird. So, yeah. Put that on a t-shirt.
The thing about 2007? Yeah.
Or the sex needs to pay off. Yeah. That's what's on the shirt.
Look, it's part of me wants to appreciate it, right? Part of me wants to think, like, what's up with the Indian girl? We can come back to that. Part of me wants to think that it's okay for this author to say what people are really thinking. Because part of me, and this might be twisted because of where I'm at in life and like what I do, but part of me thinks people think about this stuff a lot more, obviously, than anybody wants to admit. Mm-hmm. So part of me wants to be like, he's put it in here. We're seeing Paul Copeland's thoughts. This is a lot more realistic than the thoughts we would get in other books because he's constantly being like, I'd hook up with her, I'd hook up with her, I'd hook up with her, right? All right, cool. The other part of me thinks that Paul is a creep, right? And so, like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be thinking here. I don't know.
Okay. Peggy's disagreeing with this.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's just, it seems very forced, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys hope that Paul and Lucy, like, end up back together?
If it's in jail.
Like they've been through this, horrible thing together as kids that, like, affected their whole life, but they can understand each other and they know what each other's gone through. And
If Paul isn't a psycho murderer, fine. They can be together. But Paul is a psycho murderer. He's got to be.
And I need Lucy to calm down with this assignment. This is not a good assignment for these kids.
Oh, no.
This is not good.
Yeah.
And who submitted the writing? Where'd it come from? And how did Lionel get it wrong? Lonnie.
Yeah. So I brought up the Indian girl earlier. She was like kind of Gil Perez's girlfriend, sort of, kind of. I don't know. She was also Paul's love interest for a minute until Lucy showed back up because like Paul can't get it together. But like, what's her deal? Why is she a character at all? Why couldn't the cops just be like, we found Gil Perez's address, like, and we've gone to his house? You know what I mean?
Well, because she is also, a person that doesn't have an advocate. She's trying to make her way into this country and do her thing and gain power and money and status, and she could easily be taken advantage of.
But like, we've already got that character. Why do I need another one? You know what I mean? Like, I need her to somehow come back around. She must still know something. I don't know.
And we'll see how Paul treats her.
Yeah.
Does he just see her as a potential date?
Yeah.
In which case he is taking advantage of, these people that he's supposed to be protecting. Like, that's kind of just part of the theme, is who has an advocate, who doesn't.
Yeah.
Who has power, who doesn't.
Yeah.
Camille did it.
So Peggy makes an interesting point, I think, and she says that that Paul wants to be like the governor, right? His friend that we've now met. Mm-hmm. And she says, but he's not. But he wants to be like the frat boys. Paul wants to be like the frat boys. He wants to be able to like take whatever he wants. He wants to. He wants to be able to throw his weight around, right? This thing that the frat boys' parents are doing to him, he is now doing to Gil Perez's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yep. Too many threads indeed.
That's kind of how Harlan Coban goes, though, right? Like, there's just like so much to be watching for.
Uh-huh.
But then I always feel like generally you come back to like the first two characters that you meet, and one of them is the killer.
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of going with Paul, I guess. But
Right. Yep. Looking back at all the Harlan Coben shows that we've watched, it's always
Yep.
someone you've known the whole time. And even if, well, I mean, I'm enjoying this book. Like, it's keeping me reading. I'm having a hard time stopping at the stop points. Because I just want to wrap it up and I just want to know what happened. So I am looking forward to watching the Netflix show, even though it may be like wildly different.
oh yeah, I forgot
Because
about
it
that.
happens in like Poland or something.
Yeah. Well, let's just like finish up the book and read the watch the show.
Yeah.
We'll report back. If the show is as sexually aggressive as the book is, I'm gonna be uncomfortable.
Well, and just, when you're reading stuff, it's happening in your head. It's just weirder.
Yeah.
Weirder. Is this what someone meant when he said, you do the weave? I don't know, Peggy. Weaving them plot lines and threads?
Can we go back to Lonnie for a second, just because we're kind of talking about Lonnie? Whenever Lucy says she had a friend come help her figure out like where to sit for the lighting to be good, her only friend is Lonnie. So we know that Lonnie, who has been weird to her this entire book, came and sat with her, helped her like pick out her blouse, pick like where to sit in the evening light, and she wonders like why he's like this. But like,
Yeah. Anytime Lonnie's on the page, I smell a smell. I can smell Lonnie.
yeah,
That's just weird. So look, he's just weird. Is that all my notes?
honestly, like
Yep.
I'm kind of impressed though. I think we've hit most everything.
I'd feel bad for Ira. That man is tore up. He was just a hippie
Yeah,
with his little compound
yeah,
and then turned into a little summer camp. One point that I did want to make, so the kids were in charge of security there. And while we know from an outsider's view, like, that is insufficient. That is a very easy thing to do, to trust kids to be the adults. We tell them, like, you have all this responsibility, and we forget so easily that they are still kids. They do not have fully developed frontal lobes. We put a lot of pressure on them, and then we're surprised when they fail us.
yeah.
I feel bad for that age group
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Okay, so talking about frontal lobes and kids' like decision-making abilities brings me back to another reason why I hate Paul and why I think he's a killer and like a sexual sadist or something, is because he has this conversation with the killer in jail about like, hey, do you remember that chick?
That was so weird.
Like, so here they are as adults
I forgot about that.
remembering this child.
Remember that girl in her crop top?
Yeah, and about like somebody else dying or like drowning, or they're trying to resuscitate somebody or something weird, and she's like running, and everybody's just watching her instead. Like, that's. I know people who have conversations like that, and they're all in jail, right? Right? Like, I mean, just what was that? I don't know.
Yeah. Just some arrested development.
Yeah.
This totally tragic thing happened to them as kids, and they never quite progressed past
Yeah.
it in a healthy way.
I think that's a good point, right? It all, like, most of this conversation, we kind of get that conversation with Lonnie, right? About how he's been stuck in college for too long, and he's just, like, adopted this, like, college persona, like, what he thinks is this college persona, and so he's, like, sexually aggressive and weird. And, like, I don't know, that happens to people sometimes in college, right? They're, like, free for the first time and whatever, I guess. But, like, is that not true, perhaps, of Lucy and of Paul? Is it true of Gil? Like, what's going on here? And yeah, is this, like, a situation of arrested development? And so what we're seeing with these, like, forced sexual innuendos constantly, is that just them being stuck as a juvenile?
Yeah. I don't know. You know, and I'm trying to think, like, when I reminisce about, like, crushes that I had when I was in high school and stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah, I thought they were just the hottest thing ever. But then, like, that's
Yeah.
it.
But like, what if you were still stuck that way? You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And if I met them today, I would be like, oh my gosh, how are you? What do you do for a living? I wouldn't be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
16-year-old me is totally in love with you.
Yeah.
I moved on.
I think that part of me is ruined by Lost, right? And I've said this several times on the show, and
I never watched it.
And I want everything to tie together into something. And so earlier, when you were listening to the beginnings of each chapter, to remind yourself, there's this part where we were talking about Kara and how weird Kara is, his daughter, you know, and like
Backpack.
yeah, and so Kara has been a catalyst for moving the story along as well, right? She gives us the backpack thing. She is really the only tie that we regularly get to the sister-in-law, right? Because she takes care of Kara, and so like she comes up through that, and so and Kara is a female child, right? And she's in like a weird way this representation of Camille, I think. But so there, anyway, the point being is that there is this part where Paul talks about how he got home, Kara was still awake, and so he went to put her in bed, and they played the game Ghost. And Ghost is basically hide and seek and tag, except you only play it in the bed, and so there's nowhere for you to really hide. And so part of me wonders, like, what was that? Like, why is that in there, right? The whole Dora the Explorer thing paid off. And if he had just been like, she sings the song Backpack, I'd been like, next page, who cares, right? Why was this ghost thing in here? You know, is you know, the ghost concept is, I think, hinting at Gil and Camille. Hide and seek, I think, hints at Gil and Camille. Tag is about like you're it. Like, so what? How does that tie in? And then this idea of like, because you're in the bed, you can't go anywhere. You know, Gil was found 30 miles from here. You know what I mean? Like he's here. He never went anywhere. And so, you know, what's going on there? What happens when they find out the mom's not in Russia? What if the mom's right down the street? You know, what if Camille's right down the street? You know,
Yeah.
I think that ghost game is going to have some kind of payoff.
Like, how are you lost just in the next town? How are you still a missing person?
Yeah.
When you would literally be shopping at the same Walmart half the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's so weird.
Anyway, I hope that the ghost thing pays off. And as we finish, even if it doesn't, we're gonna tie it together.
We're all about making the connections over here.
Indeed, we are. Well, anything else?
That's all I got.
Atlas, you want to come say hi? Oh, baby. You want to come say hi to everybody? Can't peek
You
up?
wanna jump up?
Come here.
Come on. Come sit.
Let's let Atlas say hi to everybody
Come
real
on.
quick.
Come on, jump up.
No.
Jump up. Come here. You can do it.
Nope, she's not going to do it.
Come on.
All right, any closing thoughts before we move on? Judgy.
I can't fit.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, well.
Well, so as mentioned, we do need to pick our next book today, so be expecting a short coming out with that.
I guess, yeah, Shelby, we'll let the Hat of Betrayal sort it out. I'll put a good mix of things in there.
Yeah. Okay, she's slurping. It's time to go. All right. Yeah, we'll do the Hat of Betrayal. So.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody being vertical with us again today. We'll
be vertical next week too, probably.
I don't know if you guys hit like the alerts on the lives whenever they go up, and like that's how you remember to show up here, but be prepared for our live to be deleted. I'm gonna delete it and I'm gonna make a new one, and we'll see how it goes, because I'm tired of this. So
I don't know, it doesn't matter to me.
It matters to me. Alrighty, we will see you guys later.
Happy reading.